Thank you for your interest in hosting a Carolina Regions-sanctioned one-day tournament during the 2024 season. We hope this informational webinar will answer your questions about what is involved in hosting a tournament. We will explain the tournament assigning process and what is involved with administering a tournament from beginning to end. Let's get started. The Carolina region has several staff members that are here to help you with your event. Kevin Wendelbo is the executive director for the Carolina region. He oversees the administrative functions of the region and handles the pre-tournament entry process for clubs. Our tournament administrator is Wade Brents. Wade will be your main point of contact regarding the hosting of your tournaments before the event. Wade enters all tournament sanction requests into our tournament system. After the tournament entry deadline, Wade will assign out the sites for each division. He will send out rosters the week of the tournament and will input all results after the event. If you have any issues the day of your tournament, you should contact Kevin. His cell phone number is included on every roster cover letter that comes to you the week of the event and can also be found in the Tournament Director Handbook under the Roster Check section. Please do not give out this cell phone number to the coaches or players. If there are any issues with rosters or eligibility, the TD should call Kevin directly, not a coach or parent. Finally, Callie Davis is our officials program director. She is responsible for assigning our professional referees to the tournaments. If you hosted a tournament with the Carolina region last season, we can let you know that there have been no major changes to the tournament hosting experience. There were only a few minor policy changes instituted that don't impact the tournament administering process. All timelines will remain the same, there are no changes to the spreadsheet used to administer the events, and we will still have age groups assigned to play on Saturday and Sundays so we can accommodate as many teams as possible on a given weekend. We will go over these processes in a future slide. Carolina region tournaments are hosted throughout the state in two realms, East and West. The realms are generally divided with an imaginary north-south line through Greensboro. Clubs that are along that imaginary line may register in either realm depending on their preference for where they want to travel for their tournament experience. We will continue to assign out teams to sites based on their placement in the Carolina region rankings in their age group and realm. We will review the assignment process in a later slide. The tournament entry deadline will be 2 weeks before the event. We can occasionally accept late entries, but based on how sites are assigned, it is not guaranteed. Let's go over how teams are assigned out to the tournament sites. All teams are ranked in our tournament system based on the results of their matches in previous tournaments. After the tournament entry deadline closes, we will begin the site assignment process. We will send teams to each site in 4-team pool increments. So, a 2-court site will be sent 8 teams ranked together in the standings. A 3-court site will be sent 12 teams ranked together. Some sites may have less than 8 or 12 teams depending on the total entries received by the deadline. In those cases, there may be a 3-team pool in the tournament. We'll go over the common pool formats in a later slide. Each site in an age group will be labeled as Site 1, Site 2, Site 3 and so on depending on how many entries we have. The final 2 weekends on our schedule are the regional championship weekends. The label for those assignments will be designated as Division 1, Division 2, and so on just to differentiate the regional championship tournaments from regular season and to convey the strength of the assigned teams a little better. You'll get a better idea of the site assignment process on the next slide. This slide will give you a pictorial representation of how the site assignment process works. In this example, we see the region has 35 teams in the 17 West age group. All teams that have submitted a tournament entry for this particular tournament by the entry deadline are shown in the list with a color. We have a 3-court site and 2 2-court sites available to host a tournament on this weekend. The assignment process begins by assigning the top 12 teams that entered by the deadline to Site 1 based on the rankings. Those teams are in red. The next 8 teams, in blue, are assigned to Site 2. Finally, the next 7 teams, in orange, are assigned to Site 3. For the first 2 sites, those teams will be put into 4-team pools. For Site 3, we'll have 1 4-team pool and 1 3-team pool. We'll go over those playing formats later. This representation also illustrates how a possible late entry would be handled. As Site 1 and Site 2 are full, late entries can't be accepted. So, if Teams 6 or Teams 20 or 22 wanted to enter late, we could not accommodate them as they are higher ranked and can't be fit into a tournament relative to their rankings. However, if Team 28, 30, 33, 34, or 35 wanted to enter late, we could accept 1 late entry into Site 3 since those teams would be competitive with the teams already assigned to that site. Summing up the site assignment process, most tournaments will see all 4-team pools at their sites. This is the ideal playing format that will allow for a consistent experience for teams and allow TDs to better estimate how long the matches and overall tournament will be. Some sites will have 3-team pools depending on overall entries. The 3-team pool format is a double round-robin play schedule if it is paired with a 4-team pool. If we only have 5 or 6 teams left over to assign out to a site, we do have a 5-team and a 6-team tournament schedule. We will show those playing schedules on a future slide. The final 2 weekends of our schedule are reserved for regional championship events. We will host East-West Championships and Carolina Regional Championships on the March 23rd, 24 and April 6th to 7th weekends. The Carolina Regional Championships bring the top 4 teams in the rankings from the East and the top 4 teams from the West realms together to compete for the overall regional championships. We try to assign those sites towards the middle of the state. All other teams that submit an entry for those weekends that are not among the top 4 teams in their realm will be assigned to their respective East or West Championships tournaments. Teams will be assigned out in the same process we outlined earlier. If you're interested in hosting a regional championship event, submit your request form for those weekends same as the regular season events. We already know we will need all the courts we can get on March 23rd due to competing events, so please consider hosting on that date if you can. The Carolina region will provide the awards for all our regional championship events. Those will be shipped by our rewards vendor the week of the event. We do recognize an all-tournament team at the Carolina Regional Championship sites, and we recognize an MVP at all regional championship event sites. Instructions on how to identify those winners will be included with the pre-tournament instructions accompanying the rosters the week of the event. A few more comments on the tournament request and assignment process. Based on how sites are assigned, a TD cannot request a specific division or site that they think a particular team will be in, for example. Since we won't know where a particular team will be in the rankings until after the prior tournament's results are uploaded, we won't be able to guarantee a particular site in advance. The tournament sanction request form does have a place on it where the host can request to host a particular team or club. Please fill that section out if you do need to host a team from a particular club. We will do our best to accommodate all specific requests, but keep in mind if multiple hosts request teams that are ranked near each other, it may not be possible to accommodate all such requests. Hosts that mark they will accept any division have the best chance to be assigned a site. If there are conflicts in requests, we will reach out to the impacted hosts and try to reach a resolution so everyone can host. As mentioned earlier, we do have the opportunity to host tournaments on Sundays during the season. With the growth in teams we've experienced over the past several years, we usually need all the courts we can get on Saturdays. Having Sunday tournaments also helps us manage the numbers so more teams can participate. If you're interested in hosting on any available date on our schedule, including the regional championship weekends, please submit a request form. If a team doesn't show on the day of the event, the tournament director will need to change the pools and formats to another approved playing format. We have a master spreadsheet that all hosts are sent to aid in the administration of your event. We'll go over the spreadsheet later in this webinar. Usually if a team drops from a 4-team pool, then the TD will just change to a 3-team pool and make sure teams are still seated correctly across the entire tournament. If the withdrawal takes the total teams to 6 teams or 5 teams, then the TD should switch to those tournament formats. Just plug the teams into their new spots in the spreadsheet for the applicable tournament field size, and the spreadsheet will run the event. We have a few more slides of general information. Remember that we won't be able to have a full schedule of site assignments before the season. Site assignments happen after the tournament entry deadline closes 2 weeks before each event. This is so we can upload results from the prior event ahead of the assignments, and have updated rankings for each event. We do have an Excel spreadsheet that we will show later in the presentation that will run your tournament format. All tournament hosts should have a laptop or desktop on site that can run the latest Excel spreadsheets. We also ask that you send in the results spreadsheet as soon after the event as you can. We absolutely need the results by 9 a.m. on the Monday following your event so we can upload and have updated rankings before we assign out the next event. Thank you in advance for getting your results in. All tournament hosts are required to check over the rosters verified by the coaches at the coaches' meeting before the competition begins. Hosts will receive the rosters from our office on either Wednesday or Thursday before the tournament. We are able to import roster information directly into our tournament system, so that has cut down on incorrect rosters being sent out before the event. Our old process involved manually finding each team and building a roster attachment file to send to hosts. Importing the rosters from the USAV system tied to a specific team code means those errors are reduced. However, we do ask that you review the team rosters with the pools on the tournament system to make sure you have received all the rosters. Contact Wade in the office if you are missing anything before the event. On the day of the event, hand out the rosters to each coach and ask them to confirm the uniform numbers on the roster or write in the uniform numbers if they are not on there. Any coaches added need to have already cleared the USAV background screen and completed the Safe Sport and Impact courses to be eligible to coach. Anytime someone writes in a player or coach, please check the details and make sure a club movement form is included. Call Kevin on his cell phone if you have any questions about someone's eligibility. His number is provided on the roster cover letter and in the TD handbook under the roster check section. Do not call the region office number, as we are not in the office on the weekends. Some club directors enter in uniform numbers in the USAV system and some do not. They should cross off any players and coaches not in attendance. Note that you may see some teams at the 12 and under age groups, or younger, with waived boys on the roster up to a maximum of 2 boys. This is allowed for our one-day tournaments, and is in place to promote the growth of the boys' game. There are no restrictions on those teams. They may advance to playoffs. Teams may only add a player or coach by using a club player movement form. It wouldn't hurt for you as a host to have some copies of this form on hand in case a team needs it. This form is available on our documents page. Teams are limited to only 2 player additions through the club movement policy. They may add as many coaches from the same club to their roster up to the limit of 5 total staff on the roster. The USA Volleyball Member Management System does allow members to save a digital membership card. This is especially useful for coaches as it will show whether they have completed all their membership requirements, including the USAV background screen, Safe Sport course, and Impact course. If the member has saved their card, a TD may use their phone to scan their QR code and the system will show a live view of their membership status. If it shows they are eligible with an applicable membership category, then they may participate once properly added to the roster. All participants must be on a roster in order to be able to participate in a match. The Carolina region does allow tournament hosts to charge an admission fee to certain spectators attending your event. The host may keep 100% of the admission fees collected. The maximum admission fee allowed is $5 and hosts may charge any non-participant age 11 or older the fee. All kids 10 and under, our professional referees, and anyone appearing on a team roster entered in the event, should not be charged an admission. We recommend having a contactless payment option for spectators to be collected either before the event or on site. We are able to add specific facility information to our tournament system, so if you have anything you want to add about your admission policy or process, let us know in advance. The Carolina region strongly encourages all tournaments to have a certified trainer on site during all competitions. USA Volleyball does require all tournament directors, trainers, or any other tournament staff to have a current USAV membership, and since participating with a junior event, they would need to complete the Safe Sport and clear the USAV background screen. Contact the region office for information on a $5 event worker membership and complimentary background screen for any trainers or staff working your event. The region does designate $5 of each tournament entry to go towards paying a trainer to be on site. We no longer require the tournament host to provide proof of the trainer's certification or attendance, so the $5 per team is included automatically in the post-event payment to the host. But we do encourage all hosts to have a trainer on site, and do provide some funds to help cover their costs. Let's go over a typical timeline for the region's one-day tournament. Once the season officially begins on September 1st of each year, the region will begin registering teams for the upcoming season. Once teams are registered, they may begin submitting tournament entries for our scheduled one-day tournaments. Entries will be received until 2 weeks before each event. On the Wednesday or Thursday before the event, region staff will email several files to each tournament site. There will be a custom Excel spreadsheet that includes the teams assigned to their pools for the event, all rosters for the teams in the event, and a master Excel spreadsheet that the hosts can have on hand in case any teams drop at the last minute and pools need to be adjusted by the host. We will go over the spreadsheet later in this presentation. Hosts may receive more than one email with the tournament information, so be sure you have received all of the above before each event. If you're missing anything, let Wade know in the office by Friday morning. Tournament hosts may go to our tournament system at any time to see how many teams are entered in the event. After sites are assigned, which is usually on Mondays after the entry deadline closes, the site assignments and pools will show on the tournament system under the tournament date of the event. When you receive your spreadsheet from the office, be sure to go to the tournament system and make sure the pools/format matches what is shown on the tournament system for your site. If there are any differences, contact the region office. Please check that you have all the rosters for each team as well. There are a few other things to handle before your tournament. First, it is always a good idea to confirm with your facility early and often that you still have it reserved for your event. Check with them as to when you can get into the site to set up for the tournament. Ideally, you can get in the night before the event to set up the courts. All one-day tournaments begin at 9 a.m. with a coaches meeting at 8:30 a.m. Let the office know what time your facility will open the day of the tournament, so we can update your site information. Participants will be at your site early, so be prepared. Make copies of all current score sheets and Libero tracker sheets. You will want at least 12 copies of each for each court in your facility. Make a copy of the officials' payment sheet and have it available for the officials as they arrive. You will turn that in with your post-event paperwork. Officials will not be paid until we receive that form, and there is a place for the tournament director to sign at the bottom to verify the referees in attendance at your event. Also make several copies of the incident report form and medical claim form. If there are any injuries or damages at your site during the event, you will need to complete an incident report form. Please fill it out completely in consultation with the injured party, or parent/guardian, and send to region within 24 hours of the event. You can hand a medical claim form to the injured party, but tell them that will not be completed until after all their primary insurance claims have been processed and paid, as the USAV insurance program is a secondary policy. All forms you need will be in the TD handbook we will mail out before your event. Copies of these forms are also on our TD resources page at our website, under Info tab. That page also has a listing of USAV-approved volleyballs. Please try to use USAV-approved balls. Molten is the official volleyball sponsor of the Carolina region, so if you can use Molten balls, that is preferred. The region has a limited supply of new Molten balls for sale if you need some game balls. We're going to go over the various pool formats you may have at one of your tournaments this season. On this page you can see the most common pool size we have in the 4-team pool format. We tried to assign out tournaments in 4-team pool increments, so the overwhelming number of tournaments will have this pool size in their event. It is a round-robin pool schedule with a 30-minute required lunch break in the middle. The lunch break is as much for our officials as for the participating teams, so this is not something that the teams or TD can voluntarily remove. In this format, as soon as the pool completes match 3, make a note of the time and announce that the 30-minute lunch break begins at that time. Announce when the next match warm-ups will start, 30 minutes from then. You do not need to wait until all pools finish to start the lunch break, as no one knows if future matches will go 2 or 3 sets. Each pool may catch up after the lunch break, so it is better to just keep each pool independent and start their lunch breaks when they finish the third match. In this format, the top 2 teams in the pool will advance to the playoffs. This slide is a visualization of how the region seeds the teams into our pools based on the current team rankings in the tournament system. It's important that tournament directors understand this process so you'll know both how teams are placed into pools if you're asked on site and if teams drop out, and you have to reseed teams into a different tournament format using our master spreadsheet, you can do it correctly. Teams are seeded into the pool using what is called the snake method. If you happen to only have one 4-team pool in your tournament, they will just be seeded top to bottom with highest ranked team in slot 1 and the lowest ranked team in slot 4. Most tournaments have 2 or 3 courts, and an 8-team and 12-team tournament, snake, is shown on this slide as well. The top team goes into slot 1 in pool 1, and then the next highest team is in slot 1 of pool 2. The remaining teams are placed based on the snake until all slots are filled. If you were to draw a line from slot 1 to 2 to 3 and so on, the line will snake through the columns. Based on their positions in the pools, you'll always be able to know where those teams are in the seedings for the event. This snake also works if only have 6 or 7 teams entered in the tournament. Just remove Team 8 for the 7-team tournament, and Teams 7 and 8 for the 6-team tournament, and you'll see your new tournament format and slot assignments. Knowing this information is important, so if a team withdraws at the last minute, and a region staff member cannot help you reseed the tournament using the master spreadsheet, you can do it yourself, keeping in mind the seeding in the original tournament and adjusting slot assignments based on which team is no longer playing. The master spreadsheet will have a tab at the bottom that you can select to reference this seeding information as well. This slide shows the playing format for a 3-team pool. This 3-team pool will only play this schedule if there is at least one other 4-team pool in the same tournament, so same number of matches will be played by both pools. Teams are seeded into the pool based on the prior slide, and it includes the required lunch break same as the 4-team pool schedule. The top 2 teams will come out of this pool schedule to advance to the playoffs. There may be a few times a season where only 5 teams are left over to be assigned to a site, or if a team withdraws from a 6-team tournament. This slide shows the 5-team tournament schedule. The 5-team schedule will only be used by itself. We will not have a 5-team pool playing in same tournament as another size pool. This is due to the time needed to complete the pool schedule. This is a round-robin format, but each match will only play 2 sets to 25 starting at 0. The top 2 teams will advance to play a finals match. The last place team in the pool will be the work team for the finals. As with all other formats, the spreadsheet will run this format. We do occasionally have 6-team tournaments assigned out to sites. We will use this format to try to accommodate as many teams as possible, and will shift some teams around to avoid a 5-team tournament. This 6-team format is actually a great format for participating teams, as every team is guaranteed to make the playoffs regardless of how they do during the pool play round. Teams will play round-robin match play format, and then the spreadsheet will seed all 6 teams into the playoffs. This format also runs quicker than the normal 4-team pool formats, so the teams and tournament hosts will complete their day quicker. For most tournament formats, the top 2 finishers in each pool based on their overall match record will advance to the playoffs. There will not be any tiebreaker sets used to break ties and match records. If only 2 teams are tied based on match record, the head-to-head matchup between the 2 teams during pool play will break the tie. If more than 2 teams are tied to advance to playoffs, the spreadsheet will compare the set record and then overall point differential to break the tie. If there are ties at any of those levels between 2 teams, then the head-to-head match results between those 2 remaining teams will break the tie. The spreadsheet is programmed to handle all these calculations automatically, so TDs just need to be aware of the overall tie-breaking process so they can communicate it to participating teams if there are questions. The tie-breaking process is also explained in the TD handbook. Once teams are identified for the playoffs, the spreadsheet will seed teams into the playoffs based on the following criteria. All first-place teams will be seeded above the second-place finishers. Teams will then be seeded based on their match, set, and point differential totals. The TD may still make some manual adjustments to the seeds for 6-team playoff formats, as the spreadsheet is not able to separate teams from the same pool playing each other in the first round. TDs should look at the seeds, and if teams from the same pool are playing each other in the quarterfinals, the TD may adjust the 4, 5, and 6 seeds manually to replace that matchup. We will show you later in the spreadsheet example how to make that adjustment. If there are undefeated teams coming out of pool play into playoffs, and that means no match or set losses, then the region has established how to seed multiple undefeated teams into the playoffs to avoid confusion. Per the pool seeding snake we went over earlier, the overall number 1 ranked team in the tournament goes into Pool 1, the next highest ranked team goes into Pool 2, and if we have 3 pools, the third ranked team is in Pool 3. So, for playoff seeding purposes, an undefeated team, in matches and sets, coming out of Pool 1 will be seeded higher than an undefeated team out of Pool 2 and 3, and an undefeated team in Pool 2 will be seeded higher than an undefeated team in Pool 3. It does not matter which team is undefeated in each of those pools. They still will maintain that overall pool seeding if they come out undefeated. The spreadsheet should handle this automatically as well, so this is again just for TD information in case there are questions. This slide is just a visual representation of what was discussed on the previous slide. It shows the snake seeding into the initial pools from earlier. The playoff seeding ranking is in white. So, for the 2-pool tournament, an undefeated team in Pool 1 will be seeded higher than any undefeated team in Pool 2. For the 3-pool tournament, any undefeated team in Pool 1 will be seeded higher than any undefeated team in Pools 2 and 3. Again, undefeated means no match or set losses, and it does not matter if one pool has 3 teams and other pools have 4 teams, so one pool may play more sets than other pools. That is the reason this seeding procedure is in place, as occasionally different pools play different number of sets, so we needed a way to evaluate the 2 pools. If a team has a set loss, then they are not undefeated and are seeded using the normal criteria of match 1 loss percentage, set 1 loss percentage, and point differential. Now let's go over the various playoff formats you may have. If you have 3 pools in your tournament, or have only 6 teams total in your tournament, for example, 2 3-team pools only, then you will be running a 6-team playoff format. To begin with, all playoff matches should have our professional referees on the stand as our one. The only exception is if we only have one referee on site and both matches of the playoff round can't be covered by a professional referee. In that case, the player ref will be on the stand with the professional referee monitoring both courts. The top 2 seeds will have a bye into the semifinals, and they will be the work teams for the quarterfinal matches. The losing team in the quarterfinals will stay and work the semifinal matches. For the finals, the TD will decide which losing semifinal team will stay to work the finals. The 2 most popular methods to determine this is either the closest team to the facility stays, since the other team has further to travel back home, or the team that finished their semifinal match last will stay. This allows the earlier finisher to just pack up and go, especially if one match ends in 2 sets and the other goes 3 sets. The TD should announce to all playoff teams what method they will use before the playoffs begin. You should also remind all coaches whether in playoffs or not to check out with you before leaving, so no one leaves if they have additional matches to either play or work. For most two-pool tournaments, the playoffs will have the top 2 teams from each pool advancing and playing a semi-final and finals round. Professional officials will be on the stand for all playoff matches. The last place finisher for each pool will be the work team for the semi-final round. As with the 6-team playoff format, the TD will decide and announce a method for determining the work team for the finals between the losing teams of the semi-finals round. We will be going over the spreadsheet shortly, but just some comments about the most common errors we see when receiving the results file after the events. First, make sure you have a match score for each row of the pool play and playoff rounds. You should see the correct winning team and losing team in their respective columns. Also, make sure you put the scores of the finals match in before saving. A lot of times the TD is so rushed to finish up, tear down the courts, and clean up, that they forget to enter in that final match score before saving the file. Another common error is the wrong team winning the match. Keep track of the correct way to enter scores in the spreadsheet. The winning team's score does not always go in first. It is based on how the teams are listed in the pool and schedule. The spreadsheet will show you the winning and losing teams after you enter the scores, so if it listed incorrectly, go back and switch the scores. We will show you this shortly. Also, do not put in any extra characters in a cell. Even hitting the spacebar while in a cell will be recorded, and that will cause us an error later when we upload the results. Finally, if a team drops and you have to rebuild the pools using the master spreadsheet, please type the exact team name as in the original file, or found on our tournament system, as our upload process will need to have an exact match on team names, or it will kick back an error. Once your tournament has completed and you have reviewed the spreadsheet to make sure all matches are on there, and the ending time is completed, please save and email the file to trinadmin@carolinaregion.org. Please send the file to us no later than 9 a.m. on the Monday morning after your event. We start uploading all the results at that time. We are not able to assign out the next tournament for those age groups until all results are in, so it is critical for hosts to send us the results by Monday morning. After the results file is sent in, we just need all the completed score sheets, signed rosters, and the officials' payment forms sent to our office within 2 weeks of your event. If you are able, please fax or scan/email the official pay report on Monday so we can get our officials paid promptly. You may also scan/email all the score sheets and rosters if you want, and email that to us. If you email us the rosters and score sheets, you do not need to mail or send us hard copies. That will complete your reporting requirements. We do ask that you not fax the rosters or score sheets due to the total volume of paper that would require. If every host faxed in their score sheets and rosters, we would run out of paper and ink very quickly. Please scan/email or mail them in. If you scan/email them in, please keep the originals on hand for the remainder of the season in case there is any issue with reading the file. Once the season has been completed, you may recycle any forms you're holding from past events. There are a few other things you may need to send or report to us after your event. If any teams violate region policies while at your event, there is a form in the handbook to report those to us. Things like leaving the tournament without serving as a playoff work team, not showing up the day of the tournament without notifying you, or code of conduct violations will go on that form. We also have a separate behavior violation form if you have to remove a spectator or participant from the facility due to misbehavior. If you have any injuries during the event, please complete the insurance incident report form and send in after the event. Finally, if you witness or have reports of any inappropriate behavior by our professional officials, please let us know so we can address it. We will pay our tournament hosts within 1 or 2 days of receiving all your post-tournament reports, specifically the results file, score sheets, rosters, officials' pay report, and any other reports we went over on the previous slide. All those documents are due within 2 weeks of the event, but of course, the sooner you get those in, the quicker we can send your post-event proceeds. We pay our hosts with either a check or ACH direct payment. The ACH payment process will allow you to receive your funds directly in your bank account within 1 to 2 business days of processing. Our tournament system will email you a report breaking down the payment. If you're interested in receiving direct ACH payments, complete the direct pay form and send in to us. If you have received those payments in past seasons and your bank account information has not changed, You do not need to send us another form this season. For new hosts, we also need a complete W-9 form with your taxpayer ID number, as all hosts will receive a 1099 at end of the year for tax reporting purposes. Okay, let's go over the Carolina Region Custom Tournament Administration spreadsheet. You will be sent a spreadsheet for just your tournament, and also a master spreadsheet to use in case a team drops out and you need to make changes. This is what the master spreadsheet looks like. You will see tabs along the bottom of the screen. The Instructions tab lets you know how to make a copy of one of the tournament tabs, so you don't mess up the master file. We'll also go over that in a second. The General Info tab discusses the match format and other general information about our tournaments. The 4-team pool instructions shows you the 4, 8, and 12-team tournament seedings we went over earlier in the webinar. Next, we have administration spreadsheets for all possible tournaments. Depending on entries and team withdrawals, a tournament may be run as a 3-team tournament all the way up to a 12-team tournament. Selecting each tab will show you that spreadsheet. Note that you would not use the 12-team spreadsheet if you have a withdrawal. You must come back to the master and grab the 11-team spreadsheet, adjust the pool seedings using the prior pool placements and the snake seeding process we went over earlier, and enter the teams in their applicable pools in the 11-team spreadsheet. You would need to do the same thing for any tournament format that has a team withdrawal. You must come back and select the applicable tournament format for the number of teams you have. Now, we will go over an 8-team and 12-team tournament as our examples so you can see it in action. If you need to pull out a spreadsheet from the master, click the tab you want. We will use the 8-team tab, and right-click to see the menu. Select Move or Copy. Check the Create a Copy box and then select New Book and drop down as where to save it. It will open just the 8-team tournament. We are going to pull over an 8-team format we already pulled out and entered some data in so we can save some time. We have locked a lot of the spreadsheet so inadvertent keystrokes won't cause issues. But you can edit the team's columns as needed if you have a withdrawal and need to start over in a new book. However, the team's columns will come pre-filled when we send them to you before the tournament. Here we are entering some unique names and you'll see it pre-fills the schedule in the middle columns with those team names. We will then finish entering scores into the spreadsheet. Note that you need to put Team A's score in first always and then Team B. Also note that the winner and loser columns do fill in after you enter scores that show a team winning 2 sets. Always double-check your winner and loser on the score sheets and in the spreadsheet. Since the top 2 teams from each pool come out, you will not need to make any adjustments to playoffs. The spreadsheet will calculate the playoff teams automatically. Just enter the playoff scores in same way as during pool play and make sure you enter the finals results at the end of the day. Enter the ending time for the tournament at the top and save your file after all the results are in and email it to Wade by 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Now let's show the 12-team tournament example. Select the 12-team tab and right-click to create a copy. We will pull over a pre-filled example. We are going to keep the team names as they show here, but those fields are editable if needed if you have to make changes. If you do need to enter team names, please use the exact team name as found in our tournament system, as the results will not enter if team names don't match. Then we will enter the remaining scores in all the matches the same as previously. Again, Team A's scores go in the first match score column always, even if they lost that set. Double-check the winner and loser columns to make sure the correct teams are winning and losing. Once all the pool play matches are entered, you'll see that the spreadsheet took the top 2 teams from each pool and put them in the playoffs. It just happened to work out here that 2 teams from the same pool, Pool 3, are playing in the quarterfinals. We do not want that to happen, so this is one instance where the tournament director can make an adjustment. You can adjust any of the 4, 5, or 6 seeds so teams from the same pool are not matched up together in the quarterfinals. Go into the playoff seeds area and you can select a cell and choose a different team to go into that slot. You'll want to switch between the 4th, 5th, or 6th seeds to make your adjustments. Once that is updated, send the teams out to the courts for playoffs and enter the scores as they come in. Save the file and email to us by 9 a.m. on Monday. That is it for our 2 examples. All other tournament formats will work the same with the spreadsheet doing most of the work. Be careful entering scores and double-check everything, and you should be fine. At the end of the tournament, enter your tournament finish time at the top, fill in any other headings needed, they do come pre-filled when we send it to you, save the file and email to us by 9 a.m. on Monday. That is it for our 2 examples. All other tournament formats will work the same with the spreadsheet doing most of the work. Be careful entering scores and double-check everything, and you should be fine. The Carolina region has been very fortunate over the years in that we have had very few misbehavior issues at our events. Our club directors do a great job of emphasizing positive sportsmanship, and usually a friendly warning is all that is needed to handle any issues. But for the rare occasion where a participant or spectator begins to act inappropriately, we have 2 tools that both tournament directors and our professional officials can use to control the behavior. The participant-spectator behavior policy governs all attendees at an event and grants authority to the tournament director to remove individuals that are not acting appropriately. Tournament directors should review the policy before their events, use the warning cards that we provide with the Tournament Director Handbook, and promptly report any individuals that are removed from your sites. We have also implemented a purple card policy for our professional officials to use if they see or hear spectators acting inappropriately. This policy allows officials to warn and penalize teams if their spectators are impacting the match. This can be the first step taken at an event, but if this does not control a spectator or the behavior is egregious, the TD can and should still use the participant-spectator policy to remove the individual. We hope you'll never have to use these policies, but it is always nice to know that the region will have your back when dealing with these unfortunate incidents. Finally, all the information we have gone over in this webinar and more is included in our Tournament Director Handbook. We send this handbook out each season to every tournament director that submits a request to host one of our one-day tournaments. This handbook covers all the policies and information regarding hosting our tournaments. It also includes a master copy of the forms you'll need when hosting. We also have all the forms on the TD Resources section of our website if you ever need another copy. The handbook also covers information on providing awards to the winning teams. Hosts do need to provide individual awards to the first and second place teams. For reference purposes, the region orders 11 individual awards for the first and second place teams when we order awards for our regional championships. If a team happens to have more than 11 players on the roster that attends the event, we tell them we will order additional medals and mail it to the team rep. Hosts will need to provide awards for all regular season one-day tournaments. If you are hosting a regional championship event for us, last 2 weekends on our schedule, then the region will actually order and ship those awards to you, so you will not need to worry about ordering for our championships. That is it for our Tournament Director Informational webinar. We thank you for your interest in hosting Carolina Region one-day tournaments. We hope you have found this webinar helpful in preparing you to host an event this season. If you have any other questions about the tournament hosting process, please send us an email at the region office, and we will be glad to answer any other questions you have. Have a great season and see you on the courts.